This is the Cascade mode. What is meant by Cascade is that the boilers can talk to one another. If I use the standard boiler without an external Vision 3 panel, I can have actually up to 8 boilers talking to one another. The first boiler I set up as a master, and the following 7 boilers can be followers. These boilers will lead, lag, stage, and take all their commands from the master boiler. Okay. This is the Cascade mode. That's when you have multiple boilers communicating with one another. There's 2 ways to do it. One is through the 926 board, which is incorporated into each boiler. And what we've done is we've made this boiler what's called a Cascade Master. It's going to have all the inputs going to it, and it's going to control the other boilers. The other option is Vision 3. Vision 3 is an external panel that allows you to lead, lag, and stage up to 8 boilers. In that case, we would go back to function number 15 and we'd program each boiler with an address. One boiler would be 1, 2, 3, and 4 accordingly. If we choose to go with the Vision 926, which is the standard control board, this boiler, for instance, because I left default number 15 at 0, it's being considered to be the Cascade Master. And it says 926, and you'll notice the light is on. This boiler is going to be the one that's going to get the outdoor sensor connected to it, the Cascade sensor, and so on. Okay, I'm going to go back. Vision 3. Next one. Cascade rotation. These boilers will rotate based on hours of runtime. I can go from 48 hours, which was the default, factory default. If I choose, I can say that I want the boilers to rotate every 24 hours. Enter. What that means is every 24 hours the boilers will take turns starting up. The master might start up the first time. The next time after 24 hours the next one will start. And they'll lead, lag, and stage after that. The ultimate goal is that all the boilers have the same amount of runtime and all share the load accordingly. Next thing we're changing is Cascade DHW mode, hot water supply. This function is only used when this boiler is used as a volume water heater, where we actually run the water through the boiler to a storage tank without an indirect coil. That's a separate function or separate application, and normally that wouldn't be touched. Error system sensor on. That's going to tell us if there's a fault code. Freeze protection. Freeze protection, if this is on and the internal water temperature in the boiler reaches 43 degrees, the circulator in the boiler on the P1 pump will actually come on and circulate water. If that continues to drop and hits 37 degrees, the boiler will actually fire and heat up to approximately 50 degrees. The primary loop prevents any freezing within the cabinet. You may choose to turn that off. You can do that by hitting the enter button and then going the up or down button. In most applications you would leave that on. The only reason I can think of not doing that would be if this was a snowmelt application and we had cold water constantly going through the boiler and we did not want it to run when we weren't giving it a command to operate. Next thing, DHW modulation. As we mentioned earlier, when this boiler goes onto a heating call, the boiler modulates gradually up until it hits set point and then modulates back down. When you have a DHW call, domestic hot water, the boiler tries to heat the domestic hot water as fast as possible. For that reason, it starts modulating to high fire immediately. If I choose to have it modulate in a stepped modulation similar to the heating system, then I hit the enter button. It says normal modulation, which is wide open. and I can hit the low modulation, which is a step modulation similar to the heating system, or I can go back and have normal modulation, which is wide open from the start until it hits set point. Once again, I hit the enter button and I index to the next function. The extra boiler mode, number 30, off. This function allows the elite boiler, if it cannot keep up or a series of them cannot keep up, it allows the boiler to send out a 120 volt signal at a predetermined percentage of output to fire up an older existing boiler to help on the few days a year when there's a high demand. Also, if for some reason the boiler is down, it would allow the other boiler to take over as a substitute. Normally that's on off. I'm going to say it's on, so I'm going to change that to on. Okay? And by changing it to on, it's going to ask me for a percentage. Right now it's 53%. I'm going to say that when my Bunchkin boiler reaches 100% of its output, and once again this is determined by the installer, when it reaches 100% of output, it's going to fire up that other boiler if necessary. System sensor mode number 31. It's asking, do I want to put a Cascade sensor on my main heating loop? That Cascade sensor is looking for a set point. If this boiler cannot reach that set point, it then fires up that auxiliary boiler. If I have that off, then it's not functional, the auxiliary boiler.